Hi, YouTube. I hope you're doing okay. I am, whew, I had my mind blown this morning. Have you ever had some of those shocks in your life that you don't know? I mean, you know you're going to recover from it, but it's something that it's almost like life altering. Now, I know God has a sense of humor, but hear me out on this, okay? Um, you know, I was adopted by the Masons, so I started out as an orphan. One family took me, brought me back to the orphanage 2 weeks later because I had a herniated umbilical cord and but my birth mother, I met her when I was 34, told me I was born perfect, so I wasn't born with that rupture in my body. But anyway, so then I was adopted again by another family that I remained with till I started running away and then finally got emancipated. Um, okay, so in the meantime, the first time I was adopted out or bought, I was purchased. And this is one of the things I have with adopted children and wards of the state not being checked on after they've been placed in people's homes, you know. And I wrote a letter to my state. I still haven't heard about it. Um, I'm considering an attorney. Um, just this gets it gets super freaky from here. So in my childhood, I was told I was one nationality. So at 34 years old, I found out I was multiple heritages, you know. Okay, so that's quite a smack in the head, you know. It's like, okay. It's a little weird from going from just think, um, you know your heritage, you know your parents, or at least you know your parentage, like the, but then you find out that's not true. Okay, that was one pretty big shocker in my 30s. It's like, oh, okay. Oh boy. Now this gets really weird. I'm gonna light a cigarette. I'm almost at a loss for words, but I'm gonna tell you about this. I was freaked. Doug was freaked out. Just a minute. I'm gonna have a sip of my coffee. I'm gonna tell you about this one. This is like worse than the Adventures of Pippi Longstocking. That was my favorite book when I was a kid. Cause she was almost like an orphan because her dad was a sailor and he was gone all the time, you know, so she didn't need no adults anyway. She ran her own world. She is a weird thing like that. So cheers. Oh God, this is weird. So my birth mother had named me Catherine Marie. Um, Slauson would have been my last name. And so this morning I'm talking to the government and they asked me my mother's maiden name. And I said it. You know, my adopted parents had named me Barbara Susan Colleen. So I say, and my mother's name was Jacqueline. They ask me my mother's name, and I tell them my mother's name, you know, what the Masons had named me in my state. My birth certificate said baby girl, but they named me. So I thought they named me Barbara Susan, right? I always said my name is nobody, so this gets even weirder from here on out. This guy tells me, well, that's not what it says in our records. And so I tried to spell it again. You know, it's a little weird. It's got a capital S in the middle of the whole thing. So my adopted mom, so it's French, so I spit that out again, Half's her first name, Jacqueline. Well, no. I said, well, I was adopted. He said, well, what city were you adopted in? And I told him, and I said, and my birth mother is Slousen, and he's like, that's what we have here. That adoption was never legalized in the eyes of the government. That flippin' tripped me out. I refused to call that woman my mother. Wouldn't do it. I would call her ma or mom. I just would. I couldn't do it. There was something inside of me that could not do that. What a trip. I'm still tripping. They didn't file the flippin' papers. They bought me or they exchanged money or whatever they did a couple times, and nothing was ever legal. Wow. These aren't Masons. These are high-ranking Mason, Jesuit with Shriners rates. These people are in deep. Wow. And they both worked for the government too. This just so like I say, I'm a little. It's one of them things. Almost like finding out you have a cheating spouse, you have to, only this was happy. I did like a happy dance when I found out they never had named me. I'm like, yes, yes. I was so flippin' happy in a weird way. This is some weird shit. You have to admit, if I wrote a book about my, like Doug says, 66 years and 12 chapters each year, that's like what, 740 chapters or no, or whatever. And I said, well, for each year, you know how many books there are in the Bible? 66 canonized ones. I was tripping. No, I'm still tripping out about it. You know, I didn't know if I was happy or sad. I really have mixed feelings. Doug was going to call my adopted mom and ask her some questions, and I'm like, no, just leave it alone. You know, I don't know what I want to do yet. I need to think on this. It's like, this is as weird as it gets, people, you know, entirely. Adopted people, some of us had the attitude like we were like a store-bought cake brought to a family reunion when everybody else was homemade, it's like, yeah, so weird. So, geez, right? What next? Wow. It's a good thing God said he's going to clean us up. Okay, so my last name, they said, it was clean is how you, or the hill or the mountain. That's how you, it's the translation of it. So I got cleaned up, and then he's going to give me a new name. Well, I don't have one at this moment, so that's probably a good idea. It's weird. No, I'm not going to like go change my name or anything, but yeah, this is some strange stuff, people. Really weird. Huh, you know? Like I say, I've had a lot of strange things happen in my life that's just not normal, you know? Hmm. Or it's not typical, it's not average, or something very weird, you know? So yeah, I was tripping. That poor guy trying to take my information too. He was stunted for a second there. We both were. And then Doug really got stunted too. It's like, wow, this is like he doesn't even know my name. I want to go where everybody knows my name. Or there's a song by Supertramp called The Logical Song, and it goes, "Please tell me who I am," a few times, you know. So anyway, weird. That's all I can say. I've got such a funny feeling inside right now. It's just pretty strange. Oh, I had somebody tell me, a person that made her own language, that I'm jealous of, green with envy against the theologians. Oh, shit. Yeah. I could say, well, I wrote the book of John and that's what the whole thing's based on, so go fly a kite. But you probably wouldn't believe me anyway, so go fuck yourself. How's that? Jealous? No. I detest those motherfuckers. How's that? There isn't a jealous bone in my body. However, there is some um lethal ones, you know. You good with that? I am if you are. Bring it on. I don't care. I don't care what these little fucking imps out here say. It's of no relevance, although I was searching for something else to talk about. So there you go. What's going on in my life today, in case anybody was wondering. Wow, weird. Weirdness. Um, extreme, you know. I did not expect that. Guy, still, that poor guy, he was quiet for a second, and it's like we were both very uncomfortable. You know, I thought, what? Now I can't even deal with what I got to do, my paperwork, because of somebody else's, what, not filing papers or not doing things legally, you know. I thought I saw legal documents on me when I was a kid. I would like to see them. I guess that would be my I want to know how much they paid for me twice. I want to know how much the first people, and did they get a refund or a discount when they brought me back? I have all these questions. I have a right to question these questions to these Masons that have my records from the very beginning. Yeah, I have every right to possess my own information. And so I'm going to pursue that. Yeah, I am. I have that right. Especially with all this. This is just too weird. I mean, I have documentations of the home that I was in and where I was born, that type of thing, but yeah, the weirdness of it all. Because the bloodline that I came through were all Masonic. You know, it's weird, but it's like my father's side was the McDonald's hamburger crap joint owners. That's that bloodline. And my mother's side were from Khazarian type people called Caswells, like castle type thing. Then they had a name change, and yeah, so just weird, weird, weird people. Well, like I say, I'm happy in a very strange way because I had went and divorced them anyway. I did not. I just, I'm not like them. I just cannot accept somebody's name and association with them. It's like when I kicked my kid's dad out of the house. I just cannot have an emotional and physical connection with people that um, I don't want to be affiliated with that, type of thing. Because, like, a stupid woman that will stay with a man and keep that name, whatever. If it's not that beautiful thing it's supposed to be, how fake can you get? That's why I had to write a letter of divorcement to Doug and hand it to him, and distance myself physically on that physical level, because when it isn't perfect, it's not. That's the part, though. There's grievances in the flesh that are just morally and ethically, like, why would you accept somebody in your bed when it's not love, type of thing? It's like, well, whatever. How sickening. You're going to get sicker doing something like that than you will trying to curb your desires, in this world. That's my personal. I have too much integrity. It's like I can't. No ish. It's either real or it's fucking nothing, you know. Nobody touches me. That's been for decades, you know. I cannot. I'd rather be alone than have half-assed bullshit in my bed. That doesn't fly. Might for other people, but not me, you know. Anyway, I'm gonna take a hit of my smoke. I had a couple hits. I got off the phone with that guy. It took me a while. I was kind of like walking around dazed for a while. Then I finally sat down and listened to a video, and it's like, yeah, wondering what I was going to talk about anyway. Like I usually do, something on my mind, or hopefully it's something informative, but this is the weirdness of the child predation in the world. It's all adoptions are ran through what is called the Hague Corporation, Hauge, out of Norway. I forget the name of the city now, right now, offhand anyway. But this corporation handles most the adoptions in the world. That's weird. Why would we have a Norwegian company coming into our country and having any kind of records kept and um, implement any kind of service in our country from adoption of our own citizens? Do you see where I'm going with that? How weird that is? And with missing children all over the world, um, see the weirdness of it all? And the parents out in the street doing drugs, and the kids in these weird homes with weird people going to weird churches with their weirdness and all. I'm so serious. This goes a lot deeper than people are really getting the gist of it yet. They're not. I tried to bring that Hague Corporation, Hague Group, to people's attention. I have a video on it. I might have talked about it a couple times, but yeah, there's children out there having things done to them right now that aren't ever really checked in on, because these people are all in bed together with those children, you know. And it is, for me, all about the children. I worked with children's little brains were so messed up from the evils in this world. emotionally, they call them handicap. I would rather think it's more like a restriction, emotionally restricted little people, or inflicted, afflicted. Yeah, yeah. Some things, most things that are happen to kids from their parents, it's totally intentional. Like I say, frontal lobe damage from smacking your kids and everything. That's what the dark force wants you to do. That will injure a spot without the realization of God's helping repair you in there. That you can activate. Without that realization, people don't heal. You know, fuck, man. Jeez, excuse me. Wow, I'm just still tripping. Huh. Anyway, I think I'm kind of getting over this now for a minute. It's not as bad as finding out about my heritages. That blew me. It was the amount of them. It wasn't so much that it was one or another. It was just there are so many of them. That's what on both sides of that family. My family's. Wow. Tripped me out. And just think there's a affiliation out there that knows every human being on this planet with record of that. They've had this, if you want to call it supercomputer, they've had the documentation of births in the world all all along. You know, so they got your number. They might have had my number, but they don't have my name. Neither do I. So what the hell do I know, right? Wow. I guess you can just call me anything you want. It doesn't matter because I don't have to answer. I don't have a name, you know. Like I told my kids too, and especially if they're not going to treat me like it, don't call me mom. I'm not your mom. They have a stepmother that is more suited to their liking. I'm cool with that. Get the fuck away from me, you creepy things. You know? With all my heart, I don't mean that, but it sounds good enough on the surface what they need to hear. And I have to be strong in that respect because, you know, especially if people are dangerous, you can't have whacked psychopath druggies around you, no matter what. You just have to protect yourself. There's a lot of families out there going through similar things like that. So, yeah. Yeah. I still do think it's weird, and you should too, that we have a group dealing with children from another country, putting their nose in their business and are extremely knowledgely, techno, uh, let me think of the terminology, um, technocratic, one of the largest technocratic and um, still the strongest nation in the world, um, with the greatest intelligence in the world, that would have another entity from another country, a very small country, especially where I said the Dark Cabal actually went was up into Norway from China and all that, some of their migration and then coming back and into London and different areas. There was some that branched off up into there and Sweden and, Switzerland and like when they have their summits. If you look where they have their meetings of the minds, like in Brazil and different areas, know the heads of that dark cabal, like Jerusalem and whatever. You see my point. There's no distinction between what's their people think that say like what is it? That last flipping war with them. Anyway, people think that these people that are in charge of countries are actually enemies with each other, and I'm going to say it once again, it's all pre-planned. These people are related. They are physical relatives. Like somebody would go from England, a princess would go and become the Queen of Spain, or um, um, the Queen of France has been English, or the Princess of Wales becoming the Queen, or still Princess Di of England. But do you see what I mean? They're still related. Putin and what's his name, Zelensky, they're flipping cousins, dude. There's no distinction. These wars, these people that are being harmed, it's all pre-planned. Um, it is not. Uh, their head of state is just as guilty as the Russian ones. That's what I'm saying. It has nothing to do with the people. It never has had. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's why I have such a disdain and a hatred for all their bullshit of how they hurt people worldwide, because this is all pre-planned. They sit down and have those meetings. There's no enemies in the dark cabal, you know, not like you think. Anyway, that's how they get along. That's how it's always been one world government like that through the dark force. Oh, anyway. Now there might be somebody, but when I was doing it, I was the only 12-year-old out there with a picket sign picketing against the war. I got in trouble for it, but I was doing it. So I was like a little independent. I was more a Democrat, you know, because I used to be most for the democracy of the people, um, was more of that freedom and that liberty that everybody should have, but they're under tyranny no matter what. I knew that when I was a little kid, you know. But what really drove it home was I was a newspaper delivery person, and I just saw um, the death toll day after day after day, you know. And then when it wasn't even declared a war, you know. And then besides that, who can actually declare a war? These people think they can sign a paper and make murder legal. Well, I guess the Talmud does it in there to the people that aren't of their bloodline, don't they? It's legal in their eyes. What kind of eyes do they have? I would like to know. Excuse me. And if you're of that faith, I just jumped at you. So that means you should back off. hope you got the message. So that wasn't for anybody that's in jeopardy of being hurt by the no-hide laws. That were for the ones that would enforce that, even in their tiny, tiny little souls. So I'm going to sit here and finish tripping out today. Oh, wow. I do have things I'm going to do. I did get my exercises done this morning, and now my paperwork is done, and almost. I got one more time I got to talk to people, but yeah, I'm a little weirded out, you know. So I'll probably be back tomorrow. I hope y'all have a wonderful weekend. It's just a beautiful day here. It's strange. Very strange, surreal, weird, but yeah. It's a good day. Beautiful day in the neighborhood. Thank you for joining me. I'll talk to you soon. Peace and love from Pine City, Minnesota, USA.